Meh, goods, some goods and some mehs. Um, Thumbs up, awesome. I'm doing well, thanks, Jay. I saw your message. I'll get back to you. This is my first. We didn't have middle school class connects today, but I've got geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calc. So I'll get to your question after that. A few sleepies. Yeah, I understand that. Um, I got a good night's sleep last night. I'm ready to go. This is my second cup of coffee, so I should have plenty of energy. So this is our second class connect. So as far as what we normally do is we kind of go through the week's material. We'll do some practice problems. I'll definitely try to answer any like generic questions that maybe you had throughout the week or anything else that you are kind of wondering about, maybe what's coming up in the future. And then again, 25 minutes really goes by really fast. So let's just start by taking a Schoology tour. Again, it may be, if you've been in Link 12, it may be kind of redundant before, but if you're kind of more new, you may still be getting used to Schoology. All right, I got to make this a little bit bigger. Sometimes the bar at the top gets in the way. I can't hit the button. There we go. All right, sweet. Move this. So just looking at, again, our information, right here is where I post the recordings. So again, if you weren't here last week, this is where you find the recording. Did have some comments or some questions on the Class Connect assignment. Remember, I want everyone to complete that assignment. So those of you that are in the WebEx right now, I want you to complete it. And again, there's a couple reasons why. Mainly because Class Connects are worth 20% of your grade. And so it's my teaching philosophy that I don't give grades, students earn them. So again, if you're going to get something worth 20% of your grade, I want you to at least show me that you were following along and prove to me that you were understanding this week's material. And then your Class Connect folders right here. Again, at the end of class, I'll publish this one and we'll talk about it. You'll notice that almost always these Class Connect assignments will be something that we talk about in class, okay? It'll be something that we like went over together. So I'm not necessarily asking you to solve a brand new problem. I'm just saying, hey, if you were doing what you were supposed to, following along, writing things down, you're gonna have the answer already. Sweet. All right, so again, if we were to take a look, if we either look at the pacing guide or we looked at our folder, you'll notice that we kind of started our first unit. So we took it easy week 1. Week 2, we did some algebra review. Now we're kind of getting into our first unit. And so we've got a couple video lessons that go along with the assignments. Remember, I want you to record when you're watching the video lessons, I want you to write down notes because at the end of this unit, I'll have you turn in those notes and you'll get credit for it. You'll get some points. So super easy points. Again, why do we do that? Because there is lots of research that says if you see it, you write it, and you hear it, it's going to help you retain that information and learn it for the long term. In geometry, there is a lot of vocabulary. Okay, so a lot of stuff we do is very vocab based. So with that being said, is we got to start off kind of with a lot of definitions, a lot of, I would say just like basic geometry. We got to be able to operate. What's a line? What's a line segment? What's a point? So we got to know that stuff before we can move on. And so as we review that stuff, before we get started, I want to say IXL is good to go now. So again, as you guys are doing that, you should be able to just click it right here, okay? Click this, and then it will bring you directly to the IXL app, and you should be able to complete those. All right, I'm going to go grab my notebook. It's right on the other side of the room, and then we'll get started. So make sure you've got something to write with and a piece of paper or something so you can jot these things down. All right, I'm back. Okay, I got this. Then I'm going to share my iPad screen and basically use it as like a notebook so we can go over some stuff together. And that's got enough battery. Plug this in. Okay, let's see here. Sharing my iPad. Perfect. Let's get a new one. Sweet. All right, so first thing I want to describe is the difference between a line and a line segment. And we have had a little bit of I'd say when I'm going over your guys' work, there has been a little bit of common mistakes that people have made regarding lines and line segments. So just going to touch base on that. I had to sync up my Apple Pencil. Should be good now. All right. So, oops. A line is something that continues on forever, okay? So if we have point A and point B, a line, notice, has arrows on the ends of it because lines continue on forever. So when I write a line, I need to include the arrows on top of the letters. So this would be called line AB, or you could call it line BA. It'd be the same. Whereas a line segment, so a line segment does not have arrows. A line segment stops. So it goes from A to B and it does not continue. So if I were to write this, I would say again, I'm basically drawing a line segment right above it. So line segment AB is different than line AB. And very similarly, we could write it like this as well. Array, so kind of sounds silly when you say it like that, but array is like a combination of a line segment and a line. Array has a starting point and then continues on forever. So if I were to write this, I would say that this is the array A, B. Okay, and again, notice it starts here, it starts here, it's got an arrow here, it's got an arrow here. Now, with that being said, okay, with that being said, you cannot flip the order on this, okay? Because if I tried to say line segment BA, B to A, it would be going this way, and that's not what our situation is showing. Okay, so that's not going to hold true. So in this case, you only have one way to describe it. Go ahead, type in the chat, what does collinear mean? Does anyone have an idea? What does collinear mean? In a line. Yeah. So basically, collinear means that I'm able to draw a straight line that connects at least 2 points, but it could be more. So basically, in the same line. So if we drew an example, okay, I would say that A, B, and D are coplanar. C is not, okay? C would, or excuse me, collinear, C would not be in that line. And then I kind of touched on it, coplanar. So if you think about a plane is like, it doesn't actually have any thickness, but what I use to describe it is like a piece of paper. So it's like a flat, again, no thickness going across, and it would expand in all directions. So it would go this way, this way, this way, and this way. And so basically it'd be like saying, hey, I've got a piece of paper, all these points would go through my piece of paper, but I could have this point out here that could be above it, or I could have this point D, which could be below it. So again, above / below, because we're talking 3D, would mean that this point D is not coplanar. All right. After that, we talked about segment addition postulate, and I know somebody asked me about that. So let me talk about that. Segment addition postulate. And how I think about this, and you'll hear me say this so many times in geometry throughout the year. Little plus little equals big, or little segment plus little segment equals big segment. So I can use this a lot of different ways. If I know what my two little segments are, say I've got this line, and I know that AB is 5 and BC is 7, I could figure out what AC is by going, I could figure out what AC is by doing A plus B plus B plus C. So again, 5 plus 7 equals 12. Now, that's a super easy example. Again, you'll have to do more algebra and you'll have a little bit more difficult problems, but that's the general idea. Or let's say that I knew the whole thing, okay? Let's say that I knew the whole thing was 20 and I knew that BC was 15. Well, if I know that that's true, what I can do, just trying to move that. Okay, what I can do is I can say, all right, I'm going to take the big segment and I'm going to say, all right, my two little segments are AB and BC. I don't know what AB is. I'm going to call it X and plug in 15 here. This is, you guys have been solving these types of equations since like 7th, 8th grade. What do? You just subtract 15 on both sides and figure out that the missing side is 5. And again, when we look at this, that makes sense, right? A segment of 5 plus a segment of 15 equals a segment of 20. Let me pop back here. So this was one of the questions. This was a homework problem, and we can go over it real quick. So it was something like this, where we knew the entire segment was 52, and I knew that one side of my segment was 20. So if I know that the entire thing is 20, and the entire thing is 52, and the small part is 20, well, that means, again, 52 minus 20, whatever's left over must be 32. And then in that same example, it told us that WX is congruent to XY, which is or equal to YZ. Okay, if XY plus YZ equals 20, and they are and they're going to be the same, the only way to add two numbers that are the same to get 20 is to say that this is 10 and this is 10. Well, if XY is 10 and YZ is 10, well, WX is also going to be 10. So now I've got one little segment to figure out. I need to figure out what is VW. Okay, what's this part right here? And again, little segment plus little segment equals big segment. Little segment is 10. Big segment is 32. 10 plus what equals 32? 10 plus 22 equals 32. All right. So that was, again, a homework problem. Let's jump back. The last two things that we talked about, and these are also things that we will use a lot throughout the school year, is the midpoint formula and the distance formula. Make sure you write these down because we're going to do some practice. And if you don't have the formulas down, it's going to be very hard for you to practice. So we can use the midpoint formula basically when we have two functions or 2 points. So I have one point right here, and my second point, I'm going to label it as x2, y2. So I take my formula and I'm going to say, I want to find the average of my x's. Well, to find the average, you add things up and divide by 2. Then I want to find my y's. So I'm going to take the average of my y's and divide it by 2. This is your midpoint formula, okay? Take your x's, divide them by 2. Take your y's, divide them by 2. That new answer gives you the midpoint. And then the last formula that we need before we jump into the practice is the distance formula. Okay, so the distance formula works like this. We're going to take the square root of x squared minus, or x2 minus x1, but then I need to square that answer plus, so again, you subtract inside your parentheses, you add outside of your parentheses, the same thing for your y's. Okay, so again, make sure that you have these two formulas written down. I'm going to get our practice problems pulled up, and then you'll have probably about 7 minutes or so to get some practice in before we wrap up. Okay. Give me a second while I get it pulled up. There it is. Okay, I'm going to post the link in the chat. And then go ahead and click it. Ooh. Okay, share via link. Go to WebEx chat. And there is the link. Okay, so I'll give you about 30 seconds to click that link and get started, and then we will start the practice. For those of you that are going to be watching the recording, again, my recommendation is you pause the recording, try the problems on your own, hit play, pause, hit play, pause, and get that same type of practice that the other students are getting. All right, again, gonna hit start so we get going. You can still join even after we've started. All right. So again, if you're watching the recording, just go through, hit pause and try again, or try some of these on your own. Kind of hard to see this one. We've got 9 people in. We've got more than 9 people in our WebEx. If you haven't clicked the link in the chat yet, please do that. Okay, again, it's my expectation that you are following along. Okay, Wi-Fi is causing problems. We'll do this till about 9:53. Okay, if it's not loading for you, you can try to close out and then, or close that tab out and then just click the link again. Now we got 15 people in there. Okay. Again, there's no incentive to finish first or to finish early, so just take your time. Go about 1 more minute on this, 1 more minute on this. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, if you didn't finish, that's totally all right. Just use this as like a formative exercise so you can say, okay, that makes sense. Or, oh, you know what? I think I need to practice these a little bit more. Or, I need to rewatch a video to understand kind of where I'm goofing up. Let's look at number 6. That looked like it was the most missed question. So let me exit out and share my screen. Again, I know we're getting close to the end of our time, so we got a few more things that we want to go over. Okay, awesome job. Question 6 looked like the most missed question. Let's take a look. Which figure below illustrates the statement J is the midpoint of segment DK? So I would say, okay, this answer doesn't really make sense because J isn't in the middle. This answer doesn't really make sense because J isn't in the middle. These two answers make sense. However, this doesn't have our congruence marks, okay? We have to show that things are congruent. Just that they look like they are congruent doesn't mean it works. So that's why this one's the answer, because this line right here means that DJ is the same as JK. Okay. So again, I want to make sure this is clear. Everybody has to do the assignment, okay? Everyone, all of us in the meeting right now, we're going to do it. But if you're watching the recording, you have to do it as well, okay? So I go to our Schoology page and I open up Q1 Class Connects assignments. I'm going to click this, go to number 2, preview. Let's take a look. What is the midpoint formula? Okay, again, we talked about it. Basically, what do? We're going to make a fraction here. We're going to take our x, and then we need a subscript, which is right here, 1 plus x 2, and then divide it by 2, because this gives us our average. Then we're going to put a comma. We're going to make another fraction, and I'm going to take my y values. I'm going to say, okay, y1 plus y2. And I'm going to divide that by 2. Okay. That's your midpoint formula. We wrote it down earlier and now we're typing it in right here. So that's half of it. The other half of the question is, what is the distance formula? Okay. So the distance formula starts with the square root. We're going to subtract our two x values together to find the difference. That's the beauty of subtraction, right? We can find the difference. I'm going to add the difference of my y values. And then close my parentheses. Mr. Larson, you almost forgot to square your differences. Okay. So again, always good to double check your work. I almost missed that. We have to square our differences. All right, those are your 2 questions for your Class Connect today. So again, I would do that right now so that you don't forget and you don't get anything marked as missing. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully this was helpful. I know a few people are waiting on responses from me. I'll get to that this afternoon. If you don't need to meet anymore, that's fine because we reviewed it. If you do want to meet still, we can plan to maybe do that this afternoon. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.